Citizens of Montecito, get inside. A cougar is on the prowl.
Welcome to the broadcast, my fruits. Lovely to see you as it always is. My beautiful punch bowl of fruity creations out there. Really nice to see you. I've had a sad couple of days, I've got to tell you. A teary couple of days. I feel a bit silly telling you because it's nothing going on in my personal life that's rendered me so sad, but it is the death of Olivia, the lovely Olivia Newton-John. So it really touched me. I hope you don't mind me talking about her for a couple of minutes, but she really was a one-off, wasn't she? She was just one of those in that celebrity stratosphere that everybody loved, you know. Like a celebrity version of the Queen with that winning smile. And my heart goes out to any of you out there. Oh, God, I sound really naff, don't I? This isn't like me at all to be quite so touchy-feely, my dear. You know, I'm a very tactile, affectionate person in my private life. But, you know, when it comes to the masses and the commoners, one has to keep a stiff upper lip. But one has to also make an exception when the time's right. And the time is right with Olivia Newton-John, because she was a one-off, she was the Queen of Xanadu, and she was our Sandy, wasn't she, my dears? Our timeless Sandy. And really, I'm not going to go into it because I have the same story as thousands of you, I'm sure. But she touched my life in a way that is actually very deep and profound with that character. And it sounds so dumb, doesn't it, about some high school musical. But some things clutch us at a young age, don't they? And they get into the psyche. And as I've told you before, my dears, my first wish in life was to grow up to be Sandy from Greece. And it was some years later when I realised, sorry River, you're a Rizzo. Rather reluctantly at first, but then you embrace the role. But there's always a part of me that is forever Sandy. And there's always a part of me that is on that beach at the beginning. Love is a many splendid thing. In the embrace of her, Danny Zuko. I love her. And yeah, I was really touched, really upset. And I was very touched by the tribute from her husband when he announced the news, because he made sure to give her her full title as Dame Olivia, because many people don't realise that the gal's British born, and she was born in Cambridge, you know. Thinking of the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. Well, she was born in lovely Cambridge, beautiful Cambridge. Her father was Welsh stock, Bryn. I love the name Bryn. Brinley, I think his full name was, Brinley Newton-John, and he married a German lass. The mother was German, and they spent 6 years together here on this fair island, and then emigrated to Melbourne, with all you lovely Aussies, to have her as your own for a while. But, you know, she always had that British blood, and she always had what seems to be a love for the monarchy as well. And she was first honoured with an OBE in 1979, all those years ago. And then in 2019 she received her damehood, Dame of the British Empire. And photographs of her with Her Majesty do exist, as you can see. And, ooh, poor Hogan getting carried away there in his hot pants, isn't he, my dear? An Australian did leave me a comment, because I'd been talking about the United Kingdom, and I'd given its full name as the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, which is the official name of these isles. And the Australian said, it was an Australian fella, and he said, a lot of these places are quite a mouthful when you think of their full title, but we are just Australia. We are just plain old Australia. Well, actually, and a lot of Australians don't know this, just like a lot of Brits don't know our full title. actually, Australia is not the official name of Australia. It is the Commonwealth of Australia. Yes, my dear, as a Commonwealth realm. That might not be the way for that much longer, who knows. But for the time being, you are the Commonwealth of Australia, my dear. That is your full title. So now you know, if you didn't already. I don't mean to patronise you if you already knew that, but lots of these little snippets of trivia escape all of us, don't they? And I think they're quite handy to know. But yes, darling Olivia, I think the thing about her, which I'm trying to say, is that I talk about the royal spirit all the time, don't I, my dear? How we must channel the royal spirit. Well, we're not always flawless in that aim, but Olivia wasn't she, my dear? She channeled that royal spirit, a regal presence, no matter what she was doing, even if she was prancing about in a black leotard and high heels. Tell me about it, stud. Oh, I've got a brooch. I've got to tell me about it, stud brooch. There we are, pinned next to my heart. Unfortunately, it only looks good close up. Tell me about it, stud. Not so much from a distance, which is why I hadn't worn it yet. Someone sent me that in a Christmas card. Was it last year or the year before? Can't remember. But I've been waiting for the right time to wear it, and there we are, my dear. Unfortunately, it was on Olivia's death. The press is ablaze with loads of reports, loads of stories about the danger that Harry and Meghan might be facing, but in particular with regards to their chickens. Their chickens' lives are in peril because something vicious has been stalking that Montecito enclave. No, not Samantha Markle. A mountain lion. A mountain lion has been seen, spotted by a neighbour and recorded on security footage, prowling about and weaving in and out the cars. And of course they have such a huge amount of land there in the Casa, in that shack du Sussex. Such an expanse that it must be really rather hard to monitor. So they've got to put the little chickens away. They've got to rescue the rescue chickens from that big cat. But, you know, on a serious note, especially with the little ones around, they've got to be really, really careful. So they've been ordered to lock down because these creatures head down from the hills in search of water and food, you see, because there's been a drought in the area. A drought that's been crippling California. And the Montecito Association said in a statement, we want all locals to secure their chicken coops and whatever other animals they may have. And although killings of that kind are really rather rare in that region and the vicinity, it's not unheard of. Happened in the OC. In 2004, 35-year-old chap was mauled to death at a regional park and ranch. So beware. But to be honest with you, I think a mountain lion would turn its nose up at the prospect of eating Harry or Meghan. Don't you, my dears? They might be starving hungry, but I think that they would still reject that dish because it's very unappetizing and there's not much meat on Harry's bone, or so I've heard, my dears. And as for Meghan, if they want chicken legs, they can get it from the coop. As I'm sure you've seen, there was a furore over the Tyler Perry photo that he posted where Meghan's kissing a little gal's hand, and everybody says, actually, Meghan was kissing her own thumb, besmirching the little gal. And, well, it is rather fun. And I do wish to defend Meghan a little in that circumstance because perhaps she didn't want to transfer her lipstick, her germs. It could have been for a number of reasons where she made the gesture instead of kissing the actual hand. And also, I don't think that it's especially royal to plant lips onto a stranger's hand, no matter how well-meaning. It's the gesture sometimes that counts. But we do have to consider the possibility that she just was not comfortable subjugating herself. And she wouldn't be the first to do so by kissing her thumb, because Tony Benn has admitted doing exactly the same thing to our monarch when he was a cabinet minister. He was a very left-wing campaigner and wasn't comfortable subjugating himself to the monarch, so he made an act of it. He pretended to kiss her hand, but admitted years later that he just kissed his own thumb. I'm just mentioning this because I do get quite a few comments asking what I thought about that, and also what I think about kissing the royal hands in general, when the roles reverse. Somebody's kissing usually the female hand of royalty, be it the Queen or whatever. Well, there are plenty of places that provide advice on royal protocol, including a little bit on the royal family website, I think, but also, one should always have a Debrett's guide hanging around somewhere, just in case of emergencies. They actually have a really good website for that kind of thing. But truth be told, in our world, you grow up knowing these things as a sort of second nature, and it's not often that one has to refer to official guides. But as I say, something like Debrett's always comes in handy, but usually you'll have a selection of family, friends, chums that you can bring up. But of course, a lot of that protocol belongs much more to the old world than the new. Sadly speaking, but it's true. But when it comes to kissing, there's not really any written protocols on but kissing is an intimate act when it comes to royalty. And so when we see photographs of royalty being kissed, it is usually close family members, close be it sons, daughters, cousins, sometimes close friends that have been hanging around for a very long time, usually since childhood, or other members of royal families, in particular the European royal families. And you'll see that going both ways as well. Charles loves the excuse to kiss any old woman's hand, any woman's hand. He just loves it. He loves the ritual, and actually the Queen loves it as well. She enjoys or relishes that interchange between the two of them. As arrogant as Charles is sometimes accused of being, he obviously relishes being subservient to at least one woman, relishes it. But it tickles the pair of them to see, which is why it provides some rather joyous photograph opportunities. So I'm loath to offer you any advice on this subject, but just for a bit of fun, we can speak hypothetically. If you were to find yourself in the royal presence and you felt this urge that a bow or a curtsy simply wouldn't suffice, and it does happen sometimes, which is why I'll flash up various photographs of the members of the public with members of the royal family doing just that, and I do believe that a certain rapture can take some people in certain circumstances. It might take me as well. So although it might seem melodramatic to some, I can absolutely understand the desire to get swept away with it, and I think it really must be rather comical and quite funny for the Queen, for example, and members of the royal family, and they will always take it in good humour if it is meant and given with an atmosphere of respect. They appreciate that it is a loving gesture of deep respect and profound goodwill, and so they receive it in the royal way. The first thing you need to gauge when they approach you is whether or not they're wearing gloves. That makes the world of a difference, because putting the skin of a commoner's lips onto the royal hand without fabric in between it in the form of a glove, in my personal opinion, is a faux pas and a no-no, and it has been joyously accepted by the likes of Diana and other royals, Kate Middleton, Meghan Markle, in public, and it's a lovely thing. It's a lovely thing to see. Do I think it crosses a line? Yes, I do, but that's just my opinion. I don't believe, because there are other ways of doing it. This is the thing. When you see Prince Charles kiss the royal hand, his own mother's hand as well, it is a gesture. It is not a purse-lipped smackaroonie. Your first duty is to prevent any spittle getting on the royal glove, and especially the royal hand, my dears. Think about it. Not to speak about this during this age where we're all mega paranoid and cautious about the old germies and the old lurgies and whatever's coming around the corner. But sloppiness, complete no-no. Out. You don't want them walking away, my love. No matter how well-intentioned you are, and it's very heartwarming to see, old geezers snogging Diana's hand, and getting right on in there. Very heartwarming, my dear. You don't want them walking away, then shaking hands with other people with the feeling of your saliva on the back of their hand, my dear. One of my pet peeves, and this drives me absolutely mad, at various supermarkets sometimes. Oh no, this was actually at a charity shop, but one of the volunteers in there, he's a licker. and not the good kind. But no, this kind of liquor is the kind that licks the fingers to open the plastic carrier bags, the kind, you get them in supermarkets sometimes. It drives me mad, and there's one, and I come away with the plastic bag and my hand's wet. It's disgusting, and I have to be very conscious of it until I get home, give it a good old rinse, especially in this time. And you might say, oh, it's hard opening plastic bags. I'm sorry. You can easily acquire little water wells with sponges in that can be provided at tills and checkouts, and you just dip the finger in and it moistens the finger. I mean, I digress, my dear, but this really is a bugbear of mine, and it's annoying me because to be honest with you, I don't particularly want to offend this gentleman, but at the same time it outrages me. He knows that he's making my shopping wet and my hand in the process, and I'm not here for it, to be quite honest with you, my love, but I digress. Moving on. So smooching a royal hand in that fashion is not cricket, no matter how well-meaning it is. You don't want to leave it wet. Look at the way Charles does it. It is a gesture. It is a touch without pursing the lips. It is a touch, and sometimes it is even moved from the lips to this sort of area of the face, a gentle area there. You sort of cheat the move. It is the gesture. You don't have to prove the kiss with a great big When the royal is wearing gloves, the Queen, for example, I think that gives you a little bit more leeway to go in there, not puckering, but with a more obvious kissing gesture instead of a touch. I still wouldn't highly recommend it, but it makes me feel a lot less uncomfortable when Her Majesty or whoever it is wearing gloves. But in modern day, they don't wear gloves very often. That's the trouble. So, unlike many of you fruities out there who were rather harsh on Meghan for kissing her own thumb, I'm not mad at her for doing so, because perhaps she was being thoughtful. I like to give the benefit of the doubt where I can. Perhaps she was being thoughtful and didn't want to smear the gal's hand with her own saliva or lippy. But what I will say is, with experience and with a bit more savvy kind of intuition, she would have cheated that move with a bit more grace, and not had to actually kiss her own thumb if that's what she did, but just touch the gal's hand with her cheek or whatever it was, something that just makes it look a bit more authentic, a bit more genuine. It doesn't take much, it just takes an understanding of what's royal and what's regal, and miming a kiss that lands centimetres from your own thumb doesn't really fly. Oh, but you can hear her now, can't you? It wasn't like in Disney. It wasn't like the Princess Diaries. I thought Dame Julie Andrews would be there to show me the way. They didn't show me how to kiss. You can just hear it all right now. But having said that, screw protocol. The royal family aren't all that invested in protocol. To be honest, that's more of a middle-class preoccupation. I mean, it's not at the forefront of the upper-class mindset to be always worrying about best behaviour. I mean, some of the more prickly, stuffy, insecure ones, I would say, but most who have a sense of freedom and a sense of louche, jollity, just, look for a bit of amusement here or there. With a lovely example I found of Mickey Rooney. Mickey Rooney, a hero of mine because of his association with Judy Garland. I know he could be a bit of a, well, I won't say the word, but, love finds Andy Hardy, doesn't it? Need I say more? Another one that makes my heart sing, and he planted a right old smacker. Luckily the Queen's hand was gloved at the time, so I can excuse him. And also how delightful, such a pure, something you associate with pure America, But good old Mickey, you see, all-American hero, but half British, because his father was a Scot. Yes, a vaudevillian from Glasgow. So, born under royalty, his father was. And dear Mickey obviously cherished the connection. It only just puts him up, in my estimation, to be quite honest with you, that he showed so much respect, and you can see that the Queen understands that, even though it was thought of to be a little out of protocol at the time. You can see that the Queen doesn't mind, so it's none of anybody else's business. It was a lovely, heartwarming gesture, and lovely to see. There's nothing wrong with bending the rules. I do it all the time. But it's the way that you do it, my dear. It's the way that you do it. but Elizabeth grew up witnessing and observing these traditions, including with her father, King George VI, and Queen Mary, as you can see here in public, a cherished kiss. And famously, Nick Hardy, the little schoolboy, propositioned Diana. And you see, that was really rather cheeky and rather naughty, but it's the way that you do it. And he did it the right way, with that bit of sauce and a bit of cheek, but oodles and dashings and dollops of deep respect. So the headlines were full of cheer, because he asked her, "May I kiss the hand of my future queen?" And they gave us another really jolly show, so all's well that ends well. But do you see how the commoner purses his lips? Do you see how the commoner purses his lips? This is the difference. This cuts the wheat from the chaff. And if his breeding had been just a little bit more finely tuned, then this outturn would have been inward, so that even if he touched the unclothed hand of Diana, who sadly was not to be future queen, but, you know, we get his drift, then the mouth, the lips, would not have been so pursed, you know. That was where he made his mistake. But it made a great photo, and it was good publicity for the royal family, so whatever. And even though this wasn't a kiss on the hand, I thought this was a rather charming photograph of Diana before she married into the family, giving the Queen a peck on the cheek in greeting. Just a nice little image I thought I'd share from somewhat happier days. And I fell totally in love with this charming photograph of a little boy in Canada who bravely kissed the hand of our fair princess. And he performed that kiss very well, I see, very well. You know, considering the tender years there, the lips weren't too pursed. He didn't sort of dribble over her as a young bear knight. And it was intentional, you know, an intentional move. So very impressive. Natural grace, natural royalty there, and well accepted. I had a quick dig around for a few photographs of Catherine and of Meghan, that counterpart, to see the occasions that they've been kissed on the hand. And very few of Catherine, actually, so far, very few. You know, these things don't really fly that much in modern times. But perhaps when she becomes Princess of Wales, and of course Queen, things will change there, especially with regards to her counterparts over Europe and European royalty, because that's how they announce their greetings to each other, give their greetings. But she had the joy of having her hand kissed by Paddington Bear. And who can trump that? I mean, the dream, the absolute dream. Meghan was embraced so much by the British public that all these racist old white men and women out there, you know, they're all falling over themselves to welcome her into the fold and embrace her at every public engagement you see. These people that they went on to disparage, you know, were embracing them, kissing her hand as if she was to the manor born, you know, taking the gal to her heart. So insulting the way that they went on to behave, but you know, it's there for everybody to see. And then Frankie Dettori, the jockey at Ascot, made a point of kissing her hand to show his respect, but no, gave a little cheeky look to Prince Harry there as well. And the press made quite a meal of it, because according to them, they wasn't very impressed by it. They seemed to detect some hint of envy in the boy's eyes. I mean, I ask you, if that's true, it'd be rather childish, wouldn't it? But the headline said, Prince Harry pretends to be annoyed, with the insinuation that perhaps he wasn't really pretending. Other headlines said, he does not look impressed. Well, that's it for today. I've tried really hard to wait until the end of the broadcast to moan about the weather, because I'm sure you're sick of us Brits moaning about the weather, but that's what we do. It's one of our national pastimes. We happen to have the best climate in the world, because it's incredibly clement for the vast majority of the year. That's why we get our knickers in a twist when you suddenly get Arctic conditions or you suddenly get a heat wave. And we had a heat wave, as you know, a couple of weeks ago. Well, it's back this week to bring us lots of joy. So, you know, one mustn't grumble, but one does. And I've saved it to the end. This fan on me has been saving my life, and you know, I tried recording just without the green jacket, but to be honest with you, it just didn't feel right. So thankfully my fan has actually kept me quite cool, even though I'm in double velvet on a blisteringly hot day. But there you go. See my devotion to you, my dears. I thought, oh God, can I really do this? It's too hot. But I thought, yes, I will drop in, even if I've only got a bit of nonsense to report to you today. There it is. Take it or leave it. I will see you in the next broadcast, and I hope you have a very sunny day. Toodle pip.